we had the famous incident.
I was just going to say, were you there? Were you coaching that game?
I was
You don't
coach.
think that's Timmy Boyce style hockey right
I
there?
was coach.
Okay, you got time? Can you tell?
I got all the time.
Okay, so give me the background of this. So we've heard who was telling us this. It was the Manson brothers who gave us the
everybody's got a different view.
Everyone has
right?
a different view. So give me your view. What'd you have for breakfast that morning?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you what I had for breakfast, but like that team, we were pretty short on skill, but long on toughness, and so we were over in Summerside, I think 2 weeks before.
Ugh.
I want to say 2-3 weeks. And this defense, 20-year-old D-man that Summerside had, I think his last name was McKinnon. Big kid, stocky, like probably 210. Yeah. He caught Derek Fulton with a pretty bad hit to the head in open ice over in Summerside and just like completely wrecked his head. Like he was just concussed bad. I don't think he came back actually from it ever.
No way.
He didn't.
And so anyway, like everybody was talking about retribution, back in the day. And
head for a head, buddy.
Yeah, and we had Kirk Forrest and
that name gives me the shivers.
Ben Chason and Jeff Marchand and like Paul Ross, and we had a bunch of guys that knew how to handle themselves. So anyway, Kirk hadn't played for a while because he was having back problems, and I think I was at work and I got a text message from him. He's like, "Yeah, I just went and saw physio, cleared to play tonight." And we were playing. Summerside was coming to town.
Yeah, like fuck he was.
And so like I was never a guy to be like, you got to go fight him. Like that's just I would never. I'm not going to tell somebody to do something that I didn't do myself.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Kirk came back, and I don't even know if he was 100%, to be honest with you. And there was a face-off down in the end of the forum down by the tractor doors, and obviously we had last change, and McKinnon was on, so I put Kirk on, and I expected, because Kirk was talking about
you don't have to say anything.
He was Kirk. It was understood that he was probably going to try and fight McKinnon. And McKinnon was a tough kid. Like he wasn't he wasn't a slouch.
The video didn't display his toughness.
Yeah,
right.
Tough kid. Yeah.
So and I didn't at the time I didn't even realize, to be honest, who else was on the ice. Like I just knew Kirk was going on the ice, McKinnon was on the ice, but we ended up having like Ben Chason was on the ice, Jeff Marchand, TJ Keeping was in nets. So the puck is dropped, and you see Kirk just kind of just start. And he had a very robotic skate, like a robot to the point. And he probably took 4 or 5 strides before, and McKinnon was just standing there. And he probably took 4 or 5 strides before McKinnon realized that he was coming for him. And he just turned around and beelined it to the bench. And Superman dove into the bench in the middle of his bench. And so at that point, Kirk was just like standing by the bench, and out of nowhere, Ben Chason just comes flying across the ice, and he Superman dives head first into the bench. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, like, what is going on? And then next thing I know, like Jeff Marchand was just buzzing around.
He was swinging a stick.
He was doing circles.
That was him?
Yeah.
He was doing circles, and then TJ Keeping went down and tried to fight the other goalie. And I'm on the bench, and Paul Ross was on the bench, and I'll never forget this. Like Paul was, like, he would fight anybody. He was crazy. He tried to jump over the bench to go on the ice, and I grabbed him by the collar, and I literally had a hold of him, and he turned around, and he was so, like, he wanted to fight so bad, he was crying, looking at me going, "Let me go, let me go." And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can't, you gotta come in, you gotta. So I got the door closed, I got Paul in one hand, and I looked down to the defense door, and Luke Young was, old Juicy,
Juicy.
Played with the Sackville Blazers, didn't mind dropping the gloves. He's opening the defense door and pushing guys out and telling them to go. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be doing this. And like, so it was just complete pandemonium. Like the trainer from Summerside ended up swinging, like fighting Ben Chason. So Ben's in the middle of the bench.
The trainer's fighting him?
Yeah, the trainer got the biggest, I think he got the biggest suspension out of it all because.
No way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like Ben gets up and he's fighting in the, like he's literally literally the Summerside bench it was like the parting of the seas, and he's in there swinging, and like I think they had Jordan Knox. Like Jordan Knox was up in the corner, like it was, and the coach over there is like screaming at the top of his lungs at me, like you did, and I'm like, man, like. The only thing I did was put Kirk on the ice. Did I think there was a chance that Kirk was probably going to fight McKinnon? Yes.
100%.
Did I tell Ben Chason, like, Ben, so, like, here's the chalkboard. So there's the bench. You skate and jump headfirst into
Did you
the bench.
know that the other guy was going to Superman dive
No.
into the bench?
Like, you knew this
Absolutely
was gonna
not.
happen.
Absolutely not. But I mean, that was just. It was a microcosm of our season. Like, we just weren't a very good hockey team. Like, we sold off a bunch of players just to pay the bills. Like, it was just
The Chiefs.
It just was not a good environment for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't, and especially for a young guy like myself that didn't have a lot of coaching experience at the time. It wasn't good. Anyway, I think the league review probably took, I want to say 5 or 6 days.
I was going to say the police probably.
What
looked at
came
that.
from it?
Like, I was up in I ended up getting 3 or 4 games. I was up in Campbellton. We were getting ready for the game, and the call came in that, you know, I ended up getting 3 or 4 games. Like I think Kirk got like 12 games. I think Ben got like the rest of the season. It was like 25 games. And then there was the whole piece with the GM, Jack Finley, telling the local journalist guys that had the video to burn the tape. And
Who do you know the guy who got the tape? Because that's the person who we need to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing with the videotape there? Like, back then?
Yeah.
Like, how?
it was Maritime. Like, I think in Fairview, bottom of Fairview, there was a Maritime Broadcasting Company, I think it was called.
That
or
sounds
something
like a real
that.
thing.
So yeah, so like there were students that would come to our games and record the games and maybe do play-by-play. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. And I think that's how it ended up being. So anyway, it was just a complete and utter mess right from the get-go, and it's definitely something that I've put in my rearview mirror.